There is a protocol now treating infected women in their third trimester of pregnancy with HIV. As you can imagine, there is concern, safety concerns, both.
Excuse me, not HIV.
No, I said AZT, didn't I? Excuse me. Obviously, I meant AZT. If it
There is obviously an ongoing debate now as to the relationship between the presence of thimerosal and diseases like autism. There have been a number of studies that have indicated that there is not a connection, but nonetheless, those who feel strongly that there are still pursuing that. How that language got into the bill that authorizes the Department of Homeland Security, I just don't have information to be able to give to you because I don't know how that language got in.
Call it your second question.
And will not understand.
You are in the middle of a psychological operation.
Well, it's certainly nice to know that the future looks brighter. Now let's go to the lecture and join Dr. Anthony Fauci as he talks about AIDS.
The initial foray into drug development was with a drug like AZT, which happened to be sitting on the shelf at the time that HIV came along.
From a scientific standpoint, I think that you can learn a lot about immunogenicity and safety by going into humans in a product that has not yet been shown to be effective in an animal.
Then, if you had the disease introduced into school children would have it in a rampant form because they sneeze all over each other. Because they sneeze all over each other.
Not to mention people who ride the subways and elevators and things like that.
What happened to Berkeley?
Well, it went away.
What happened to SARS then? Where is it now?
SARS essentially disappeared. SARS came, we isolated the virus, we started to make a vaccine, which was successful. It looked pretty good in an animal model.
What the virus has done, again, if you want to personify it, has recognized that if it intersperses itself into the immune system, it can use those very mechanisms, those factors that cells use to talk to each other. That's what's called immunopathogenesis. That's what we have been working on.
Now, we have several companies that are interested in going the distance with us. We're willing to take risks even. We have people who come to us and say we've reached a certain point and now we need to go to the next step of building a new plant or investing another $100 million or so. So it really is the incentive. We're willing to take that risk, but we're not willing to take a risk of being successful in what we do and then finding out that no one wants to buy the product. So can you give us an assurance under current law, given the vicissitudes of the appropriation process, we really can't give them
we believe that we can meet the expected immediate demand. But I'd caution you by saying we don't believe the immediate demand is 600,000 patients. Now, as more extensive testing occurs, I fully imagine that there will be many more of these patients who will be identified.
There are two groups of coronaviruses. This is likely a member of a new third group. We are involved in a major program for the sequencing of pathogenic microbes, not only those that are on the category A or B list, but microbes for which one can, by a simple mutation, lead to a microbe that would be a bioterror weapon. Project BioShield will help us meet the challenges of bioterrorism effectively and expeditiously. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for the opportunity to testify today about this important initiative to improve our homeland security.
Project BioShield will transform our ability to defend the nation in three essential ways. First, Project BioShield authorizes $5.6 billion over 10 years for the government to purchase and stockpile vaccines and drugs to fight anthrax, smallpox, and other potential agents of bioterror. Our goal is to translate today's promising medical research into drugs and vaccines to combat a biological attack in the future. And now we will not let bureaucratic obstacles stand in the way. Thank you all for coming.
There's nothing corny about having sports heroes, young people that are clean and honorable and out there setting the pace. I think of Dr. Fauci, probably never heard of him. You did, Ann heard of him. He's a very fine research, top doctor at National Institute of Health, working hard doing something about research on this disease of AIDS.
When did you make a decision and why that you were going to be available to the media?
Well, it became clear to me that particularly in the discipline that I was dealing with, infectious disease, particularly emerging infectious disease that would generate a lot of concern on the part of the public, that could be HIV/AIDS, that could be pandemic flu, that could be Ebola.
Every time we come in front of you, we tell you things that are more serious. So I can't imagine that we're not going to be given the money.
At that point, we will have sufficient warning to be able to expand whatever manufacturing amount that we have to meet the expected demand.
There's the potential, theoretically, of antibody-related enhancement. In other words, if you have a vaccine that is suboptimal in its efficacy and you get infected with the microbe in question, you might actually have enhancement rather than protection. Now, you keep getting asked, why the male homosexual population? Well, as I mentioned, for reasons that will become clear shortly, the virus was introduced into the population.
A perfect bioweapon and a perfect modality of biological terrorism.
Started off in the male homosexual population in this country. Take an infectious agent and you introduce it into a population in which the spread among those individuals,
People are not getting vaccinated because of me? Are you kidding me, Hugh? Come on.
There is a large segment of the American people that doesn't trust you now, and that can't be undone.
That is a completely false narrative that I would have to absolutely reject.
Okay.
The vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind.
The adversary deceives you. Do not let yourself be destroyed. Most of you have been brainwashed and will not understand this message.